Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
October 8, 2020, the end of PdVSA edition. We begin with that story from the New York Times that for the first time in a century, there are no rigs searching for oil in the country of Venezuela. Wells that once tapped the world's largest crude reserves have been abandoned or left to flare toxic gases over the country. Refineries have all been shut down. The fuel shortages have brought the country to a standstill. At gas stations, lines go on for miles. Venezuela's colossal oil sector, which shaped the company and the international energy market for literally a century, has come to a near halt, with production reduced by a trickle of by years of gross mismanagement and American sanctions. A decade ago, Venezuela was earning $90 billion a year from its oil exports. This year, $2.3 billion. I personally negotiated with lawyers from PdVSA in the middle of the last decade, and they were not only technically proficient, but honorable and well-versed in energy contracts. So I know the company was top-notch at one point, and it's devastating to see this going forward. Next up from the Washington Post, the U.S. is accused of violating international labor laws, forced labor protections, in a new complaint. Leaders representing a large number of U.S. trade unions filed a complaint with the UN Labor Agency, arguing that the country under President Trump has violated international labor standards during the coronavirus pandemic. Although it's not difficult to believe that the Trump administration would violate the law, the complaint details numerous ways U.S. labor law and enforcement are failing workers and spotlights their further weakening under Trump. The complaint is another sign of the frustration over the treatment of workers by the Trump administration, which puts them literally below dogs. Next up from the Wall Street Journal, I am shocked, just shocked, to discover there's price fixing in the chicken industry. 6 current and former chicken industry executives have been indicted on price fixing, expanding the government's antitrust prosecution into the $65 billion poultry industry. The charges target executives from 6 different companies, including Pilgrim's Pride, the largest chicken supplier. So with these new charges, a total of 10 officials are facing prosecutions. The charges come after the DOJ announced indictment of senior poultry executives on similar charges in an earlier indictment. So once again, I'm shocked, just shocked, to find that there's price fixing in the poultry industry. And finally, just when you thought things could not be any weirder, a grand jury in Tyler County, Texas, has brought essentially child pornography charges against Netflix. Child pornography on Netflix, you ask? It is based on the movie Cuties, which is a documentary about child exploration and a coming-of-age story. And it's really trying to present how to prevent all of these things from happening. The film has won several awards, and this Tyler, Texas, of course, is a rural county in Texas, so perhaps you should expect it. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.